5. Disrupting the Peach Festival. The great sage steals elixir with revolt in heaven. Many gods would seize the fiend. Now we must tell you that the great sage, after all, was a monkey monster. In truth, he had no knowledge of his title or rank, nor did he care for the size of his salary. He did nothing but place his name on the register. At his official residence he was cared for night and day by the attending officials of the 2 departments. His sole concern was to eat 3 meals a day and to sleep soundly at night. Having neither duties nor worries, he was free and content to tour the mansions and meet friends, to make new acquaintances and form new alliances at his leisure. When he met the 3 pure ones, he addressed them as Your Reverence, and when he ran into the 4 thirsts, he would say, Your Majesty. As for the 9 luminaries, the generals of the 5 quarters, the 28 constellations, the 4 Devarajas, the 12 horary branches, the 5 elders of the 5 regions, the star spirits of the entire heaven, and the numerous gods of the Milky Way, he called them all brother and treated them in a fraternal manner. Today he toured the east, and tomorrow he wandered west. Going and coming on the clouds, he had no specific itinerary. Early one morning, when the Jade Emperor was holding court, the Taoist immortal Zhu Jingyang stepped from the ranks and went forward to memorialize, kowtowing. The great sage, equal to heaven, has no duties at present and merely dawdles away his time. He has become quite chummy with the various stars and constellations of heaven, calling them his friends regardless of whether they are his superiors or subordinates, and I fear that his idleness may lead to roguery. It would be better to give him some assignments so that he will not grow mischievous. When the Jade Emperor heard these words, he sent for the Monkey King at once, who came amiably. Your Majesty, he said, what promotion or reward did you have in mind for old Monkey when you called him? We perceive, said the Jade Emperor, that your life is quite indolent, since you have nothing to do, and we have decided therefore to give you an assignment. You will temporarily take care of the Garden of Immortal Peaches. Be careful and diligent, morning and evening. Delighted, the great sage bowed deeply and grunted his gratitude as he withdrew. He could not restrain himself from rushing immediately into the Garden of Immortal Peaches to inspect the place. A local spirit from the garden stopped him and asked, What is the great sage going? I have been authorized by the Jade Emperor, said the great sage, to look after the Garden of Immortal Peaches. I have come to conduct an inspection. The local spirit hurriedly saluted him and then called together all the stewards in charge of hoeing, watering, tending peaches, and cleaning and sweeping. They all came to kowtow to the great sage and led him inside. There he saw, radiantly young and lovely, on every trunk and limb, 62. Radiantly young and lovely blossoms filling the trees, and fruits on every trunk and limb weighing down the stems. The fruits, weighing down the stems, hang like balls of gilt. The blossoms, filling the trees, form tufts of rouge. Ever they bloom, and ever fruit-bearing, they ripen in 1,000 years, not knowing winter or summer. They lengthen out to 10,000 years. Those that first ripen glow like faces reddened with wine, while those half-grown ones are stalk-heeled and green-skinned. Encased in smoke, their flesh retains their green, but sunlight reveals their cinnabar grace. Beneath the trees are rare flowers and exotic grass which colors, unfading in 4 seasons, remain the same. The towers, the terraces, and the studios left and right rise so high into the air that often cloud covers are seen. Not planted by the vulgar or the worldly of the dark city. They are grown and tended by the queen mother of the jade pool. The great sage enjoyed this sight for a long time and then asked the local spirit, How many trees are there? There are 3,600, said the local spirit. In the front are 1,200 trees with little flowers and small fruits. These ripen once every 3,000 years, and after one taste of them a man will become an immortal enlightened in the way, with healthy limbs and a lightweight body. In the middle are 1,200 trees of layered flowers and sweet fruits. They ripen once every 6,000 years. If a man eats them, he will ascend to heaven with the mist and never grow old. At the back are 1,200 trees with fruits of purple veins and pale yellow pits. These ripen once every 9,000 years and, if eaten, will make a man. Age equal to that of heaven and earth, the sun and the moon. Highly pleased by these words, the great sage that very day made thorough inspection of the trees and a listing of the arbors and pavilions before returning to his residence. From then on, he would go there to enjoy the scenery once every 3 or 4 days. He no longer consorted with his friends, nor did he take any more trips. One day he saw that more than half of the peaches on the branches of the older trees had ripened, and he wanted very much to eat one and sample its novel taste. Closely followed, however, by the local spirit of the garden, the stewards, and the divine attendants of the equal to heaven residents, he found it inconvenient to do so. He therefore devised a plan on the spur of the moment and said to them, "Why don't you all wait for me outside and let me rest a while in this arbor?" The various immortals withdrew accordingly. That Monkey King then took off his cap and robe and climbed up onto a big tree. He selected the large peaches that were thoroughly ripened and, plucking many of them, ate to his horror's content right on the branches. Only after he had his fill did he jump down from the tree. Pinning back his cap and donning his robe, he called for his train of followers to return to the residence. After 2 or 3 days, he used the same device to steal peaches to gratify himself once again. One day the Lady Queen Mother decided to open wide her treasure chamber and to give a banquet for the grand festival of immortal peaches, which was to be held in the palace of the Jasper Pool. She ordered the various immortal maidens, red gown, blue gown, white gown, black gown, purple gown, yellow gown, and green gown, to go with their flower baskets to the garden of immortal peaches and pick the fruits for the festival. The 7 maidens went to the gate of the garden and found it guarded by the local spirit, the stewards, and the ministers from the 2 departments of the equal to heaven residence. The girls approached them, saying, "We have been ordered by the Queen Mother to pick some peaches for our banquet." "Divine maidens," said the local spirit, "please wait a moment. This year is not quite the same as last year. The Jade Emperor has put in charge here the great sage, equal to heaven, and we must report to him before we are allowed to open the gate." "What is the great sage?" asked the maidens. "He is in the garden," said the local spirit. "Because he is tired, he is sleeping alone in the arbor." "If that's the case," said the maidens, "let us go and find him, for we cannot be late." The local spirit went into the garden with them. They found their way to the arbor but saw no one. Only the cap and the robe were left in the arbor, but there was no person to be seen. The great sage, you see, had played for a while and eaten a number of peaches. He had then changed himself into a figure only 2 inches high and, perching on the branch of a large tree, had fallen asleep under the cover of thick leaves. "Since we came by imperial decree," said the 7-gown immortal maidens, "how can we return empty-handed, even though we cannot locate the great sage?" One of the divine officials said from the side, "Since the divine maidens have come by decree, they should wait no longer. Our great sage has a habit of wandering off somewhere, and he must have left the garden to meet his friends. Go and pick your peaches now, and we shall report the matter for you." The immortal maidens followed his suggestion and went into the grove to pick their peaches. They gathered 2 basketfuls from the trees in front and filled 3 more baskets from the trees in the middle. When they went to the trees at the back of the grove, they found that the flowers were sparse and the fruit scanty. Only a few peaches with hairy stems and green skins were left, for the fact is that the Monkey King had eaten all the ripe ones. Looking this way and that, the 7 immortal maidens found on a branch pointing southward one single peach that was half white and half red. The blue gown maiden pulled the branch down with her hand, and the red gown maiden, after plucking the fruit, let the branch snap back up into its position. This was the very branch on which the transformed great sage was sleeping. Startled by her, the great sage revealed his true form and whipped out from his ear the golden hoop rod. One wave and it had the thickness of a rice bowl. "From what region have you come, monsters?" he cried, "that you have the gall to steal my peaches?" Terrified, the 7 immortal maidens knelt down together and pleaded, "Let the great sage calm himself. We are not monsters, but the 7-gown immortal maidens sent by the Lady Queen Mother to pluck the fruits needed for the grand festival of immortal peaches, when the treasure chamber is open wide. We just came here and first saw the local spirit of the garden, who could not find the great sage. Fearing that we might be delayed in fulfilling the command of the Queen Mother, we did not wait for the great sage but proceeded to pluck the peaches. We beg you to forgive us." When the great sage heard these words, his anger changed to delight. "Please arise, divine maidens," he said. "Who is invited to the banquet when the Queen Mother opens wide her treasure chamber?" The last festival had its own set of rules, said the immortal maidens, and those invited were the Buddha, the Bodhisattvas, the holy monks, and the Aryats of the western heaven, Planning from the South Pole, the Holy Emperor of Great Mercy of the East, the immortals of 10 continents and 3 islands, the Dark Spirit of the North Pole, the Great Immortal of the Yellow Horn from the Imperial Center. These were the elders from the 5 quarters. In addition, there were the star spirits of the 5 poles, the 3 pure ones, the 4 Diva Kings, the heavenly diva of the Great Monad, and the rest from the upper 8 caves. From the middle 8 caves there were the Jade Emperor, the 9 heroes, the immortals of the seas and mountains, and from the lower 8 caves there were the Pope of Darkness and the terrestrial immortals. The gods and devas, both great and small, of every palace and mansion, will be attending this happy festival of the immortal peaches. Am I invited?" asked the great sage, laughing. "We haven't heard your name mentioned," said the immortal maidens. "I'm the great sage, equal to heaven," said the great sage. "Why shouldn't I, old monkey, be made an honored guest at the party?" "Well, we told you to rule for the last festival," said the immortal maidens, "but we do not know what will happen this time." "You are right," said the great sage, "and I don't blame you. You all just stand here and let old monkey go and do a little detection to find out whether he's invited or not." Dear great sage, he made a magic sign and recited a spell, saying to the various immortal maidens, "Stay, stay, stay." This was the magic of immobilization, the effect of which was that the 7-gown immortal maidens all stood wide-eyed and transfixed beneath the peach trees. Leaping out of the garden, the great sage mounted his hallowed cloud and headed straight for the jasper pool. As he journeyed, he saw over there a sky full of holy mist with sparkling light, amber-colored clouds passing ceaselessly. The cries of white cranes pierced the ninefold heaven. Purple fungi bloomed through 1,000 leaves. Right in this midst an immortal appeared, with a natural, fair face and manner distinct. His spirit glowed like a dancing rainbow. A list of no birth or death hung from his waist. His name, the great immortal of naked feet. Attending the peaches feast had lengthened his age. That great immortal of naked feet ran right into the great sage, who, his head bowed, was just devising a plan to deceive the real immortal. Since he wanted to go in secret to the festival, he asked, "Where is the venerable wisdom going?" The great immortal said, "On the kind invitation of the Queen Mother, I'm going to the happy festival of immortal peaches. The venerable wisdom has not yet learned of what I am about to say," said the great sage. "Because of the speed of my cloud somersault, the Jade Emperor has sent old monkey out to all 5 thoroughfares to invite people to go first to the Hall of Perfect Light for a rehearsal of ceremonies before attending the banquet." Being a sincere and honest man, the great immortal took the life of the truth. Though he protested, "In years past we rehearsed right at the Jasper Pool and expressed our gratitude there. Why do we have to go to the Hall of Perfect Light for rehearsal this time before attending the banquet?" Nonetheless, he had no choice but to change the direction of his hallowed cloud and go straight to the hall. Treading the cloud, the great sage recited a spell and, with one shake of his body, changed into the form of the great immortal of naked feet. It did not take him very long before he reached the treasure chamber. He stopped his cloud and walked softly inside. There he found swirling waves of ambrosial fragrance, dense layers of holy mist, a jade terrace decked with ornaments, a chamber full of the life force, ethereal shapes of the phoenix soaring and the argus rising, and undulant forms of gold blossoms with stems of jade. Set upon there were the screen of 9 phoenixes in twilight, a beacon mount of 8 treasures in purple mist, a table inlaid with 5-colored gold, and a green jade pot of 1,000 flowers. On the tables were dragon livers and phoenix marrow, bear paws and the lips of apes. Most tempting was every one of the 100 delicacies, and most succulent the hue of every kind offered and food. Everything was laid out in an orderly fashion, but no deity had yet arrived for the feast. Our great sage could not make an end of staring at the scene when he suddenly felt the overpowering aroma of wine. Turning his head, he saw, in a long corridor to the right, several winemaking divine officials and grain-mashing stewards. They were giving directions to the few Taoists charged with carrying water and the boys who took care of the fire and washing out the barrels and scrubbing the jugs, for they had already finished making the wine, rich and mellow as the juices of jade. The great sage could not prevent the saliva from dripping out of the corner of his mouth, and he wanted to have a taste at once, except that the people were all standing there. He therefore resorted to magic. Plucking a few hairs, he threw them into his mouth and chewed them to pieces before spitting them out. He recited a spell and cried change. They changed into many sleep-inducing insects, which landed on the people's faces. Look at them, how their hands grow weak, their heads droop, and their eyelids sink down. They dropped their activities, and all fell sound asleep. The great sage then took some of the rare delicacies and choicest dainties and ran into the corridor. Standing beside the jars and leaning on the barrels, he abandoned himself to drinking. After feasting for a long time, he became thoroughly drunk, but he turned this over in his mind, bad. In a little while, when the invited guests arrive, won't they be indignant with me? What will happen to me once I'm caught? I'd better go back home now and sleep it off. Dear great sage, reeling from side to side, he stumbled along solely on the strength of wine, and in a moment he lost his way. It was not the equal to heaven residence that he went to, but the Tashida Palace. The moment he saw it, he realized his mistake. The Tashida Palace is at the uppermost of the 33 heavens. He said, the griefless heaven, which is the home of the Most High Laozi. How did I get here? No matter. I've always wanted to see this old man, but have never found the opportunity. Now that it's on my way, I might as well pay him a visit. He straightened out his attire and pushed his way in, but Laozi was nowhere to be seen. In fact, there was not a trace of anyone. The fact of the matter was that Laozi, accompanied by the aged Buddha D. Amekron P. 141 Kr, was giving a lecture on the tall, 3-street red Mount Elixir platform. The various divine youths, commanders, and officials were all attending the lecture, standing on both sides of the platform. Searching around, our great sage went all the way to the alchemical room. He found no one but saw fire burning in an oven beside the hearth, and around the oven were 5 gourds in which finished elixir was stored. This thing is the greatest treasure of immortals, said the great sage happily. Since old monkey has understood the way and comprehended the mystery of the internal, its identity with the external, I have also wanted to produce some golden elixir on my own to benefit people. While I have been too busy at other times even to think about going home to enjoy myself, good fortune has met me at the door today and presented me with this. As long as Laozi is not around, he'll take a few tablets and try the taste of something new. He poured out the contents of all the gourds and ate them like fried beans. In a moment, the effect of the elixir had dispelled that of the wine, and he again thought to himself, bad, bad. I have brought on myself calamity greater than heaven. If the Jade Emperor has knowledge of this, it will be difficult to preserve my life. Go, go, go. He'll go back to the region below to be a king. He ran out of the Tashida Palace and, avoiding the former way, left by the West Heaven Gate, making himself invisible by the magic of body concealment. Lowering the direction of his cloud, he returned to the Flower Fruit Mountain. There he was greeted by flashing banners and shining spears, for the 4 mighty commanders and the monster kings of 72 caves were engaging in a military exercise. Little ones, the great sage called out loudly, I have returned. The monsters dropped their weapons and knelt down, saying, Great sage, what laxity of mind. You left us for so long and did not even once visit us to see how we were doing. It's not that long, said the great sage. It's not that long. They walked as they talked and went deep inside the cave dwelling. After sweeping the place clean and preparing a place for him to rest, and after kowtowing and doing homage, the 4 mighty commanders said, The great sage has been living for over a century in heaven. May we ask what appointment he actually received? I recall that it has been but half a year, said the great sage, laughing. How can you talk of a century? 1 day in heaven, said the commanders, is equal to 1 year on earth. The great sage said, I'm glad to say that the Jade Emperor this time was more favorably disposed toward me, and he did indeed appoint me great sage equal to heaven. An official residence was built for me, and 2 departments, peace and quiet, and serene spirit, were established, with bodyguards and attendants in each department. Later, when it was found that I carried no responsibility, I was asked to take care of the Garden of Immortal Peaches. Recently, the Lady Queen Mother gave the Grand Festival of Immortal Peaches, but she did not invite me. Without waiting for her invitation, I went first to the Jasper Pool and secretly consumed the food and wine. Leaving that place, I staggered into the palace of Laozi and finished up all the elixir stored in 5 gourds. I was afraid that the Jade Emperor would be offended, and so I decided to walk out of the Heaven Gate. The various monsters were delighted by these words, and they prepared a banquet of fruits and wine to welcome him. A stone bowl was filled with coconut wine and presented to the great sage, who took a mouthful and then exclaimed with a grimace, It tastes awful, just awful. The great sage, said Bang and Ba, the 2 commanders, has grown accustomed to tasting divine wine and food in heaven. Small wonder that coconut wine now seems horridly delectable. But the proverb says, tasty or not, it's water from home. And all of you are, related or not, people from home, said the great sage. When I was enjoying myself this morning at the Jasper Pool, I saw many jars and jugs in the corridor full of the juices of jade, which you have never savored. Let me go back and steal a few bottles to bring down here. Just drink half a cup, and each one of you will live long without growing old. The various monkeys could not contain their delight. The great sage immediately left the cave-in with 1 somersault, went directly back to the Festival of Immortal Peaches, again using the magic of body concealment. As he entered the doorway of the palace of the Jasper Pool, he saw that the winemakers, the grain mashers, the water carriers, and the fire tenders were still asleep and snoring. He took 2 large bottles, one under each arm, and carried 2 more in his hands. Reversing the direction of his cloud, he returned to the monkeys in the cave. They held their own festival of immortal wine, with each one drinking a few cups, which incident we shall relate no further. Now we tell you about the 7 young immortal maidens, who did not find a release from the great sage's magic of immobilization until a whole day had gone by. Each one of them then took her flower basket and reported to the Queen Mother, saying, "We are delayed because the great sage, equal to heaven, imprisoned us with his magic." "How many baskets of immortal peaches have you gathered?" asked the Queen Mother. "Only 2 baskets of small peaches, and 3 of medium-sized peaches," said the immortal maidens, "for when we went to the back of the grove, there was not even half a large one left. We think the great sage must have eaten them all. As we went looking for him, he unexpectedly made his appearance and threatened us with violence and beating. He also questioned us about who had been invited to the banquet, and we gave him a thorough account of the last festival. It was then that he bound us with a spell, and we didn't know where he went. It was only a moment ago that we found release and so could come back here." When the Queen Mother heard these words, she went immediately to the Jade Emperor and presented him with a full account of what had taken place. Before she finished speaking, the group of winemakers, together with the various divine officials, also came to report. "Someone unknown to us has vandalized the festival of immortal peaches. The juice of jade, the 8 dainties, and the 100 delicacies have all been stolen or eaten up." 4 royal preceptors then came up to announce, "The supreme patriarch of Tao has arrived." The Jade Emperor went out with the Queen Mother to greet him. Having paid his respects to them, lay as he said, "There are, in the house of this old Taoist, some finished golden elixir of 9 turns, which are reserved for the use of your majesty during the next grand festival of Cinnabar. Strange to say, they have been stolen by some thief, and I have come specifically to make this known to your majesty." This report stunned the Jade Emperor. Presently the officials from the Equal to Heaven residence came to announce, "Kowtowing, the great sage son has not been discharging his duties of late. He went out yesterday and still has not yet returned. Moreover, we do not know where he went." These words gave the Jade Emperor added anxiety. Next came the great immortal of naked feet, who prostrated himself and said, "Yesterday, in response to the Queen Mother's invitation, your subject was on his way to attend the festival when he met by chance the great sage, equal to heaven. The sage said to your subject that your majesty had ordered him to send your subject first to the Hall of Perfect Light for a rehearsal of ceremonies before attending the banquet. Your subject followed his direction and duly went to the hall. But I did not see the dragon chariot and the phoenix carriage of your majesty, and therefore hastened to come here to wait upon you." More astounded than ever, the Jade Emperor said, "This fellow now falsifies imperial decrees and deceives my worthy ministers. Let the divine minister of detection quickly locate his whereabouts." The minister received his order and left the palace to make a thorough investigation. After obtaining all the details, he returned presently to report, "The person who has so profoundly disturbed heaven is none other than the great sage, equal to heaven." He then gave a repeated account of all the previous incidents, and the Jade Emperor was furious. He at once commanded the 4 great Devarajas to assist Devaraj Alai and Prince Enlita-160. Together, they called up the 28 constellations, the 9 luminaries, the 12 horary branches, the fearless guards of 5 quarters, the 4 temporal guardians, the stars of east and west, the gods of north and south, the deities of the 5 mountains and the 4 rivers, the star spirits of the entire heaven, and 100,000 celestial soldiers. They were ordered to set up 18 sets of cosmic net, to journey to the region below, to encircle completely the flower fruit mountain, and to capture the rogue and bring him to justice. All the deities immediately alerted their troops and departed from the heavenly palace. As they left, this was the spectacle of the expedition. 69. Yellow with dust. The churning wind concealed the darkening sky, reddish with clay. The rissing fog o'erlaid the dusky world. Because an impish monkey insulted the highest lord, the saints of all heaven descended to this mortal earth. Those 4 great Devarajas, those fearless guards of 5 quarters, those 4 great Deva kings made up the main command. Those fearless guards of 5 quarters moved countless troops. Lai, the pagoda bearer, gave orders from the army's center, with the fierce Enlita-160 as the captain of his vanward forces. The star of Rahu, at the forefront, made the roll call. The star of Ketu, noble and tall, brought up the rear. Soma, the moon, displayed a spirit most eager. Aditya, the sun, was all shining and radiant. Heroes of special talents were the stars of 5 faces. The 9 luminaries most relished a good battle. The horary branches of Zioni, Lucivin, Malfer, and Yaden, they were all celestial guardians of titanic strength. To the east and west, the 5 plagues and the 5 mountains. To the left and right, the 6 gods of darkness and the 6 gods of light. Above and below, the dragon gods of the 4 rivers. And in Titus formation, the 28 constellations. Citra, Esvati, Viseka, and Anuradha were the captains. Ravati, Sveni, Apia Bhr letter 147 Omicron, and K letter 105 BTT can new combat well. Torah letter 163 Macron DH Macron, Abhijit, execute or via letter 147 Macron, execute or VI letter 163 letter 160 H, Perva PRO letter 163 letter 160 H Apia Dia, Torah PRO letter 163 letter 160 H Apia Dia, ROHI letter 147 Macron, MU Macron Ella BRH letter 147 Macron, Perva letter 163 Macron DH Macron. The poem says, the heathen-born monkey king who can change a lot steals wine and elixir to joy in his mountain lair. Says he spoiled the feast of the immortal peach. 100,000 heaven troops spread the net of God. The Viragili now gave the order for the celestial soldiers to pitch their tents, and a cordon was drawn so tightly around the flower fruit mountain that not even water could escape. Moreover, 18 sets of cosmic net were spread out above and below the region, and the 9 luminaries were then ordered to go into battle. They led their troops in advance to the cave, in front of which they found a troop of monkeys, both great and small, prancing about playfully. Little monsters over there, cried one of the star spirits in a severe voice. What is your great sage? We are heavenly deities sent here from the region above to subdue your rebellious great sage. Tell him to come here quickly and surrender. If he but utters half a no, all of you will be executed. Hastily the little monsters reported inside. Great sage, disaster, disaster. Outside there are 9 savage deities.
Greetings, I'm Henry, here to help.
What up, those big Snoop deal who claim that they are sent from the region above to subdue the great sage? Our great sage was just sharing the heavenly wine with the 4 mighty commanders and the monster kings of 72 caves. Hearing this announcement, he said in a most nonchalant manner, if you have wine today, get drunk today. Mind not the troubles in front of your door. Scarcely had he uttered this proverb when another group of imps came leaping and said, those 9 savage gods are trying to provoke battle with foul words and nasty language. T listened to them, said the great sage, laughing. Let us seek today, as pleasure in poetry and wine, and cease asking when we may achieve glory or fame. Hardly had he finished speaking when still another flock of imps arrived to report, Father, those 9 savage gods have broken down the door, and are about to fight their way in. These reckless, witless gods, said the great sage angrily. They really have no manners. I was not about to quarrel with them. Why are they abusing me to my face? He gave the order for the one-horned demon king to lead the monster kings of 72 caves to battle, adding that old monkey and the 4 mighty commanders would follow in the rear. The demon king swiftly led his troops of ogres to go out to fight, but they were ambushed by the 9 luminaries and pinned down right at the head of the sheet iron bridge. At the height of the melee, the great sage arrived. Make way, he yelled, whipping out his iron rod. One wave of it and it was as thick as a rice bowl and about 12 feet long. The great sage plunged into battle, and none of the 9 luminaries dared oppose him. In a moment, they were all beaten back. When they regrouped themselves again in battle formation, the 9 luminaries stood still and said, you senseless ban-horse plague, you are guilty of the 10 evils. You first stole peaches and then wine, utterly disrupting the grand festival of immortal peaches. You also robbed Layazi of his immortal elixir, and then you have the gall to plunder the imperial winery for your personal enjoyment. Don't you realize that you have piled up sin upon sin? Indeed, said the great sage, these several incidents did occur. But what do you intend to do now? The 9 luminaries said, we received the golden decree of the Jade Emperor to lead our troops here to subdue you. Submit at once, and spare these creatures from being slaughtered. If not, we shall level this mountain and overturn this cave. How great is your magical power, silly gods? Retorted the great sage angrily, that you dare to mouth such foolhardy words. Don't go away. Have a taste of old monkey's rod. The 9 luminaries mounted a joint attack, but the handsome monkey king was not in the least intimidated. He wielded his golden hoop rod, parrying left and right, and fought the 9 luminaries until they were thoroughly exhausted. Every one of them turned around and fled, his weapons trailing behind him. Running into the tent at the center of their army, they said to the pagoda bearer Devaraja, that monkey, 71. King is indeed an intrepid warrior. We cannot withstand him and have returned defeated. Devaraja then ordered the 4 great Devarajas and the 28 constellations to go out together to do battle. Without displaying the slightest panic, the great sage also ordered the one-horned demon king, the monster kings of 72 caves, and the 4 mighty commanders to range themselves in battle formation in front of the cave. Look at this all-out battle. It was truly terrifying with the cold, swirling wind, the dark, dreadful fire. On one side, the colorful banners fluttered. On the other, lances and halberds glimmered. There were row upon row of shining helmets, and coat upon coat of gleaming armor. Row upon row of helmets shining in the sunlight resembled silver bells whose chimes echoed in the sky. Coat upon coat of gleaming armor rising cliff-like and layers seemed like glaciers crushing the earth. The giant scimitars flew and flashed like lightning. The mulberry-white spears could pierce even mist and cloud. The cross-like halberds and tiger-eye lashes were arranged like thick rows of hemp. The graying swords of bronze anthracite shovels crowded together like trees in a dense forest. Curved bows, crossbows, and stout arrows with eagle plumes, short staffs and snake-like lances, all could kill or maim. That compliant rod, which the great sage owned, kept tossing and turning in this battle with gods. They fought till the air was rid of birds flying by. Wolves and tigers were driven from within the mount. The planet was darkened by hurtling rocks and stones, and the cosmos bedimmed by flying dust and dirt. The clamor and clangor disturbed heaven and earth. The scrap and scuffle alarmed both demons and gods. Beginning with the battle formation at dawn, they fought until the sun sank down behind the western hills. The one-horned demon king and the monster kings of 72 caves were all taken captive by the forces of heaven. Those who escaped were the 4 mighty commanders and the troop of monkeys who hid themselves deep inside the water-curtained cave. With his single rod, the great sage withstood in midair the 4 great Devarajas, lie the pagoda bearer, and Prince N1160, and battled with them for a long time. When he saw that evening was approaching, the great sage plucked a handful of hairs, threw them into his mouth, and chewed them to pieces. He spat them out, crying, "Change." They changed at once into many thousands of great sages, each employing the golden hoop rod. They beat back Prince N1160 and defeated the 5 Devarajas. In triumph, the great sage collected back his hairs and hurried back to his cave. Soon, at the head of the sheet iron bridge, he was met by the 4 mighty commanders leading the rest of the monkeys. As they count out to receive him, they cried 3 times, sobbing aloud, and then they laughed 3 times, heeing and hoing. The great sage said, "Why do you all laugh and cry when you see me?" "When we fought with the Deva kings this morning," said the 4 mighty commanders, "the monster kings of 72 caves and the one-horned demon king were all taken captive by the gods. We were the only ones who managed to escape alive, and that is why we cry. Now we see that the great sage has returned unharmed and triumphant, and so we laugh as well." "Victory and defeat," said the great sage, "are the common experiences of a soldier. The ancient proverb says, you may kill 10,000 off your enemies, but you will lose 3,000 off your allies. Moreover, those chieftains who have been captured are tigers and leopards, wolves and insects, badgers and foxes, and the like. Not a single member of our own kind has been hurt. Why then should we be disconsolate? Although our adversaries have been beaten back by my magic of body division, they are still encamped at the foot of our mountain. Let us be most vigilant, therefore, in our defense. Have a good meal, rest well, and conserve your energy. When morning comes, watch me perform a great magic and capture some of these generals from heaven, so that our comrades may be avenged." The 4 mighty commanders drank a few bowls of coconut wine with a host of monkeys and went to sleep peacefully. We shall speak no more of them. When those 4 Devarajas retired their troops and stopped their fighting, each one of the heavenly commanders came to report his accomplishment. There were those who had captured lions and elephants, and those who had apprehended wolves, crawling creatures, and foxes. Not a single monkey monster, however, had been seized. The camp was then secured, a great tent was pitched, and those commanders with meritorious services were rewarded. The soldiers in charge of the cosmic nets were ordered to carry bells and were given passwords. They encircled the flower fruit mountain to await the great battle of the next day, and each soldier everywhere diligently kept his watch. So this is the situation. The fiendish monkey rides through heaven and earth, with the net spreads open, ready night and day. We do not know what took place after the next morning. Let's listen to the explanation in the next chapter. 6.